Hi, today I would like to show you how you can combine TSQLite data sets and data sources on your forms, and how you can also create controls which are not using the data-aware solutions, but using a database behind to set up the content of the control, and what you can then use with certain SQL statements to filter and sort the data for these controls and use them into other controls and fields. So in my project, what I'm working on in my application, I have many data sets, many tables. As you can see here there are many of them on the main form. And what is worth to mention here is that if you are creating controls, SQLite data sets on your main page, then you can also use them on other forms, and you don't need to recreate these data sets or TSQLite data controls on other forms. You can simply use the data source objects if you want, but of course you can duplicate these controls as well. So as you can see that when I'm creating the main form, I'm setting up these controls or these data sets, and however you can create your data sets directly, as I showed in previous tutorials, that you are clicking on the data set itself, and then you are setting up the fields and create from the design time the application. You might have the requirement to create the database not in design time, but when you are running the application let's say in a working environment. So in this case, it is better to create the tables programmatically instead of using these controls, because then you can also fine-tune how you would like to set up the database. There is one thing what is worth to mention. So basically, when you are creating a data set, you have the fields, and you typically have an index field which is auto increment holding an auto increment value. If you are using Lazarus, you might recognize that if you create the data set just from here, and the data type you set to ft auto increment, but you are opening the same file from a database browser, like in my case I'm using this DB browser for SQLite. You might recognize that if you create a new field with this browser, then the browser itself does not create or does not increase the auto increment value. So as you can see in my case, the data type of ft integer is the auto increment field value. And if you set it like this, then you need to also describe in database or table creation syntax that you want to have this field an auto increment. And how you can do this? You can do it from the code itself. So when I'm going to the create database function, and this one is here, so create base tables, you can see that I'm setting up the tables with a simple SQL statement. So here I could be able to use this SQL statement on a way that inside the SQL statement I'm checking if the table exists or not. but I was selecting or deciding to check this table exists with the Lazarus dataset control. So at first I'm checking if the table exists, and if it is not existing, then I'm simply using the create table function. And what you can see here is that to create an auto increment field, at the end of the create table statement, you need to define primary key VCID. So basically this one is the key field, and then you need to define that it's an auto increment value. And in this case, if you are using this external SQLite browser applications, then and you create a new field, then these fields are already let's say incrementing the primary key value, so you will have always a value. If you would use the FT auto increment from Lazarus, then of course the application itself would take care about creating the auto increment values via this data set components, but the SQLite applications, the external applications would not create an auto increment value. They would simply put a null inside this auto increment field. So you need to take care about this to make sure that this works. So this is one thing when you are creating the databases, and now let's see a complex form, which in my case this formula form, where I was setting up many fields already. It's still in work in progress, so it's not really working completely, but the model, the calc center, the cost elements are coming from databases or tables, and also the variable names and descriptions and the other variables are also coming from a database or database table, and these controls here are simple Lazarus controls. And these are not database aware or dataset aware controls. So basically, you need to fill up manually. I mean, from the code, the fields, and you need to take care about updating these controls when something is changing. So the other ones, like the model, the calc center, and the cost centers, are coming from these models here. Where I was duplicating the data sets from the main page. So as I said, I could be able to use only these data sources here, which would take the models or the data sets from the main page. That's also a working solution, but I was deciding just to duplicate them here. So how I was setting up this TDB lookup combo boxes, this is pretty straightforward. So I'm not using the values in any table, so I'm not linking this DB lookup combo boxes to a database field to basically set something here. I'm just listing the available values, and when I'm selecting these, then I'm basically taking the values from the lookup list, and with this I can later on I can save the data on a way that what I need, and I can create additional table fields for the application itself, which I will use somewhere else. So these ones are, as I said, pretty much straightforward things. So I was showing already in a previous tutorial that if you want to set up the TDB lookup combo boxes, then you need to fill up the list field and list source properties, and via this you will basically get into the control what you need. So in my case, I have the models, the calculation centers, and cost elements, which are basically uh, following each other. So in the model, I can have calculation centers, and within the calculation centers, I can have many cost elements used. And if these are used, then I can basically define a calculation method behind the elements. For this, I will need variables which can come from manually entered data. So basically, when I'm using a model, I will have a table where I can fill up this values which are related to the model, and I will have also other ones which are coming from a standard table, a standard rate table. So these will be different values, and their values will be uh, uh, always the same for different models maybe. So to fill up these controls here, I'm simply using a control or a procedure which is taking care about filling up the values into this table. So let's see one of these because basically the other is the same. It's coming from the same table, but I'm filtering it to two different variable types. So when I'm setting up this field, of course, I have here a TStringGrid component, and as you can see, I was defining the column count, so I will use only 2 columns, and I was defining these columns as a variable and description. So these are the titles above the fields. And yeah, basically the fixed columns I set to 0 because I don't want to have a column at the beginning or in front of the values. I don't need them. And the fixed rows, of course, the title rows. So these are these I had to keep on 1. Then I was defining, of course, the height and width of the columns and so on. So these are pretty much the simple setup of this. What I also set up here is that when I'm moving inside the fields, because it would be a bit difficult to set up the word wrap inside the fields or inside the cells. If I have a longer variable, I want to show it as a hint that what is inside the field, just to give the chance to the user to see the complete text inside this field, and you will see how this is working. So what I'm doing here is when I want to set up one of these TStringGrid components, I use this procedure which is separate for each of these TStringGrids, and the first one is the variables grid, where I'm just taking a simple data set. So here you can see that I'm defining a data set temporary. So I was not setting it up on the form. So within these components, I don't have this extra one, which is here in this procedure. I defined it here, created the component, and then I was basically setting the row count of the string grid to 1, which means that I'm only keeping the title rows in the TStringGrid component, and all the rest is deleted. So this is a very simple way to cancel all the data or to delete all the data from a TStringGrid. And then I'm setting up the SQLite dataset, what I created here with the file name, which is defined for the application globally. and then I'm setting the SQL statement, what I want to use for this data set. And this is a very simple select statement ordered by the variable name inside and filtered for a variable type 1, which in this case a manual variable, so what I need to enter later on in the application each time when I'm setting up a calculation model. And once the SQL statement is created, I can open the data set and I can start to go through the elements. So I go to the first element, and then I need to have a cycle here, which is basically going through all the lines of the data set, and then putting the values from the fields into the right cell of the list. Of course, before you can enter a value into a row or into a cell, then you need to make sure that this row exists. So at the beginning, I'm basically increasing the number of rows to have a new row created, and then I can enter the values into it. And once it is done, then I can go to the next element, and I'm doing this until I'm reaching the end of the SQL statement result, and then I can close the SQLite data set, and I can also free up this object to remove it from the memory, because everything will be in the TStringGrid, and I don't need to have this SQL statement still open in the application. So how is this running? So when I'm going into the models, I already set up certain things, so you can see that for example, if I don't have a selected model, I can't go to the calc center because I don't know which model I'm working on. So basically it's not selected. And one thing what I did not mention, that you can also set up inside the TDB combo box that what is the value of this control if the control itself is having an empty value, so you haven't selected anything. And you can see that here I have two items. Actually, I can't select here an empty element. It's just empty when you are at or when I'm at the first state of the form. And when I select something, then these controls will be available. So let's select the one which I already created, and now you can see that the calc center is already let's say selectable. But you can't select the name for these things, because once I will select the calc center, there will be a calculation behind which will basically summarize all the cost elements inside the application, and or inside this model and this calc center, and then you can use it. So there will be an additional variable here which will be created if you want. If you don't want, for sure you don't need to create. So once you select something here, and here you can see that there is also an empty statement here, because this is set up like this. So if I'm selecting something, and then I can already select the cost element. If I'm selecting back the empty field, then this is again not selectable anymore. If I'm selecting this, then also here it's freed up. So this is how you can basically control the elements inside the application, that you check that what is selected, what is not selected, and you need to make sure that that everything works accordingly. And what you can see here, that once I call the procedure to fill up these controls, and actually the two controls are working on the same way. So as you have seen that this one is filtered for the variable type 1, and this one is filtered for the variable type 0. So the rates will be or the rate variables will be with a with the variable type 0, and the manual ones will be with variable type 0. And as you can see, also um, this hint solution is working. So if you have a longer line like here, then the hint is showing that what is inside these fields. So these ones are not completely visible. Here you can see that the cell itself is basically cutting the portion of the field, but with this solution you can show that what is inside. So basically that's it. What I did not show so far is that how you can make this hinting working. So basically you need to set up the TStringGrid on mouse move value or on mouse move event with a procedure. So here I'm having a list move mouse move procedure linked to the TStringGrid, and as you can see that this is basically the same mouse move event, because on all the three uh, options, or all the three items, I will use this list mouse move procedure. And if I'm coming here, then I'm basically addressing the controls with the sender T object element. So when the procedure is called, the sender object will be the TStringGrid, which I'm actually moving the mouse over. So if I'm moving on the sum list, or if I'm moving on the rate list, or if I'm moving on the vary list, inside the procedure, I will have the right control. But to address the control itself, I need to make sure that I'm basically taking the right sender here, and I'm using it as a TStringGrid, of course, because I know that I can't call this procedure from another control. I'm always calling it from a TStringGrid. So basically, it's safe to simply tell that to the compiler that the sender object is a TStringGrid object, and then I can get the cell itself from the mouse coordinates via the x, y coordinate itself, and then I will get the column number or row number as well, which is basically will get the column and row number of the cell itself. So once this is let's say selected, or this is given by the mouse coordinates, then I can get the cell text itself just by addressing the cell column and row. So this will be the text itself, and then I can set the TStringGrid grid's hint parameter, which is actually, if I'm going here in the parameter list, then you can see that it's the hint itself is empty, and then if you put something into this, then the hint itself will be visible. If the cell text is empty, then of course it can be also empty. So basically, it would be easier to just simply tell that the hint text is the cell text, because as you can see that here I was using the comparison to the empty string, and then I'm using an empty string. So basically I could be able to simply just use the cell text itself, and then it would be basically the same result. However, this is not really enough. You need to make sure that the application itself is showing the hint. So when you are setting up your form, or the form itself is created, you need to do certain things. So basically, you need to make sure that these controls So the TStringGrid controls show hint parameter is set to true, and this one is also possible to set it in design time here. However, it's safer if you do it at the creation time here, just to make sure that you are not missing anything at design time. So that's why this is set in the create function. And one more thing is the application hint pause. So basically, this is the time until the hint itself will appear. So with this, you can define that once the mouse is entering into the cell itself, or inside the TStringGrid object itself, then how long the application is waiting before the hint is shown up. So if you set it to too long, uh, then you need to wait, of course, until it appears, and this might be a bit confusing for the user. You need to wait a lot until the hint itself is showing up. But if it is too short, then it will appear immediately, more or less. So now I'm set it to 300. So basically this is almost 1/3 of a second. But if I would set it to even shorter, then of course it would be showing up immediately. So when it is running and you go above, you can see that this 0.3 second is basically good enough, because it's almost immediately appearing. But if I would set it to I don't know, maybe 50, just to have something, I think the 0 would not work. But if I set it to 50, then it will appear basically immediately. As you can see that it's much quicker if I'm going there. And what is interesting, of course, that until you are in the same field, let's say, then it more or less staying there and just disappearing after a while. So of course, depending on if you are on an empty area or on the text itself. So as you can see, if you are on an empty area, then it disappears after a while. So this is how the system works. And I hope with this tutorial I could show how you can build up your system with a TSQL data set, and how you can create your own control, more or less, I would say, manually filling up the data from a data set, and not using always the data controls, because sometimes the data controls are also causing problems if you are let's say keeping a control or a data set open for a long time, and you want to actions on these controls. So you want to save data, you want to update a field or something like that. And you might run into an issue that because the one data set is open, or one table is open by a data set, and you are trying to update with another data set, and the previous data set was locking basically the input into the newer data set, then basically this can create some disruption in your application. So you need to consider how you want to address these fields, how you want to take care about these fields, and just to keep that many controls open which are really necessary for your application to be open at the same time. So that's all for today. I hope I could help you with some ideas, and if you like the tutorial, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. With this, I wish you happy coding, and see you next time.